And if you're late, there is a 25% penalty for each week late. To remind you, Project 2, you're gonna do a painting app that looks something like this. Let's click on this. Or you can do your own creative effort, but then like you need to get pre-approved by me or someone else. Probably me. So Project 3 is out and due in 2 weeks from today. Project 3 has a couple of new UI elements. We're gonna go over that in a second. Basically, the Project 3 covers, there's like 4 new user interactions, 2 of which are animation related. Here's a demo of Project 3, just so you know, see what it's like. So you can see this kind of groovy animation already here. And you can see the UI here is a bit kind of more neat. So let me cancel this for a second. Okay. So you can see that colors is still kind of working, I guess. Maybe opacity not so much. Maybe let's change it to cylinder. You can have the different like animation, painted animation shapes. You can change their glow. Opacity also kind of working somewhat. What else we have here? We have scale, I guess, that doesn't work so much, but I'm gonna talk about why that doesn't work for animations. Does rotation work? Yes, it does. So you can get this groovy rotation. Position also kind of works. It gets kind of interesting effects anyway. The clock, day, nights thing is still there, so you can use that if you haven't done so for Project 2. What else? What else is new here? So yeah, mostly the animation. That's the main thing for Project 2, I believe. I don't remember exactly what these buttons do, but you know, we're gonna go over that, so don't worry. Any questions? So what I'm doing now is just going over Project 3, which will be due in, what did I just say? Will be due in 2 weeks from today. Okay, and here's an example of the new user flows. So again, 2 have to be animation related. Here I can see 1, 2, 4 animation related options, but you don't need, like for your own project, you only need 2. I'm gonna now talk a little bit about animation, just kind of general background, and then we're gonna dive in and do animation with Unity. So anything, you know, so just to be clear, animation here is basically the movement of objects. And when we talk about animation, there's keyframes. So keyframes are basically the position of the object in a certain time. So in keyframe 1, that's basically when the object is going to be at that point. Keyframe 2 is when the blue circle is going to be in that point. And keyframe 3 is basically on the 3rd time step. That's where the object is going to be on the 3rd time point. So something like this. So I'm going to just, if that's not clear, I'm going to show you a quick video that explains what are keyframes. Keyframes are basically the position of an object in a certain time for the purposes of the animation.
This is a keyframe. It keeps track of information. Imagine keyframes as invisible helpers that track how things should move or change over time. Let's use position keyframes as an example. Say we have a square and we want it to move from one side of the screen to the other. To make that happen, we set a keyframe here to say, at this time, I want the square to be here. Then we set another keyframe after it to say, at this time, I want the square to be here. Let's hit play. Notice how smoothly the square transitions between keyframes? The software automatically fills in the movement so that it flows perfectly from one position to the next. Keyframes are also important for timing. The length of time between 2 keyframes decides how fast or slow something changes. For example, if we set the keyframes 1 second apart, it will take 1 second for the square to move. If we set them 5 seconds apart, it will take 5 seconds for the square to move. Keyframes aren't just used for position. We can use them to change rotation, size, transparency, and more. You can also use multiple keyframes to have as many properties changing as you want. In fact, the more advanced you get at editing, the more keyframes you're going to use. You may notice in advanced software, every property has its own keyframe, whereas in some of the simpler editing softwares, they'll just use one keyframe to keep track of all the information. Multiple keyframes gives you more control, while a single keyframe keeping track of everything is just a little bit simpler. Keyframes are the building blocks of animation and video editing.
Okay, so that was keyframes. A couple of ideas basically when you're doing any kind of animation, and this is kind of based on actual Disney kind of principles, if you're interested in that. So you're basically, when you're animating, you're basically changing the position of an object, a 3D object, cube, or a character or whatnot in your application. So you can change it in a way that kind of is physically interesting. So here you can like have it kind of squash and stretch, and you can also kind of create the like interesting effects by adding this kind of time delay to a certain action. So basically, here like a person is like grabbing something, but instead of just straight away going there, he first of all raises his hands and then like lingers a bit and then actually grabs it. So there's like some sort of some sort of play here between where the object is and the time it's supposed to be there. Let's go forward. Here's an example. So here, like all the objects are going from A to B, right? But one car is kind of speeding out and then slowing down. The other car is slowing and then speeding. So these graphs are kind of showing you the different way you can go from A to B just by playing like with the speed. So here's like a kind of like a side shot of what that means. So if you're going in the same speed, you're in the top left kind of area. But if you change your speed, then like you can be in all the other free kind of charts. And I'm gonna show you how to do that kind of play with Unity today. Here's like more reading if you have any interest in this. And any questions? So if not, let's open Unity and open the project where we stopped at like last time. Okay. So first thing, let me change this this to be week 9, I believe. So this should be week 9. Okay. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to go over the basics of animation with Unity. So for that, let's create like a cube, just a simple cube, 3D object, cube. Okay. So I'm not sure where my cube is. Oh, here it is. Okay, let me kind of, and I want to move my cube to be in the, basically in the origin, point of origin here. So I'm just going to change it to be 0, 0, 0. So now I can see it kind of more clearly here. Okay, good. What else I want to do? So I have my cube. Let's actually okay, so to add to do any kind of animation, we actually need to add an animator. So Unity has two kind of components that you need to add on to have any kind of movement. Let's see. Let me move this a bit so it's a bit the other way, maybe like that. Okay, something like this. And then maybe I can cancel the particle system for now, so it's not going to bother us too much. Okay. So let's add the animator. So let's see, add component animator here. Okay, so right now it's still not doing anything. I added the component, but I actually need to add like a controller. You see there's like a controller here and an avatar here. Avatar is basically if you have like an actual humanoid character. So this is not something we're gonna use, but we do need to fill out this, change this none to actually be a controller. To be actually pointing to a controller. So let's create like an animator. So if I right click here on my assets, create, there should be an animator controller over here. So I can just add it like this. And I'm gonna change this name. Let's see, name animator. Okay. So if I double click on this, I have this chart. I'm gonna explain what this is in a second. Let's just move it here for now. So I didn't do anything yet. Let's now link this animator to this cube. So by dragging this animator all the way here. Okay, so now it's linked. So let me just save this. This is still not gonna do anything, but everything is now basically ready for our first animation. So what I needed to do is create actually an animator object here. Have this cube have a component that's called animator, and link this here. Okay, so now let's click on this. Okay. So what's happening here is I'm going to explain what this is. This is kind of mysterious. So anytime you have an animation, it has some sort of state. So the way to think about it, you have like a start state, an end state, and some sort of middle state. So the start state is usually like the green box here, and the end state is like an exit. So and in between it does something, or it doesn't do anything. It could be idle. You know, if you're like looking at games, like you have a character, the character can just be standing. That will be his normal state. But he also can be walking, right? So that's basically why this is like, these kind of states are all here. Let's try to do an animation now. So if I am here, any questions so far, by the way?
Is this animation information going to be like a required part of the project too?
Yeah, so you missed that. So basically, project 3, not project 2.
Okay.
So in project 3, you need 2 out of 4 of the user flows should be animation related. Okay. So let me remember again. How do I? So we were here, right? We had the animator. Okay, we can open the animator. So now we actually wanted to get it to move, right? So everything is connected, right? So now let's add an animation. So how do we add an animation? Let me see if this works. So, oh, actually, before that, so you can actually add states here if you want to. So you can have an entry state that goes to new state. So right now these are all blank. They don't do anything. But actually, I want to make this work. So let's delete this. So let's add an animation. So if I go here, click create animation, and let's just call this cube animation. Okay. And let's see if I can assign it somehow here. Animation. So if you just try assigning animation here, it's not going to work. Let's just try that. Okay. So I can try, like, say, connecting it like this, but it's not going to do anything. It's going to kind of yell at me. So that's not the right way to do it. So that's not going to do anything. So let's remove this. Remove component. Okay. So, okay, so how do I actually connect this animation with the cube? That's the, maybe I can drag this here. Okay, nice. Okay, so this is the right way to do it. So you have the animator, right? But if you just create an animation here, it's not gonna do anything because it is like, doesn't know it is actually working on the cube. So let me delete this. The right way to do it is you have to have this like animation window open, and you have to be clicking, this cube has to be clicked, and it already has to have like an animator over here. And then it will do something. So let's move this aside so I can just show you whatever is happening here under the hood. Okay, click create, and let's call this cube bounce. Okay, and now you can see this means that everything is now should be ready for our first animation. So again, to get this all working well, you need like an animator connected to your cube. You need to have the animator here open, and you also need like an animation window here. And I also clicked on this add animation property. Okay, so let's see how this actually works. So let's like, so when you're doing an animation, we can just do something simple. Let's see what the options are. So we have an option to change the transform, change some sort of the way the cube is kind of rendered, like kind of changing its color and so. And we also have some kind of collision and physics options. So some of these options are kind of too advanced for us. Let's just kind of play around with the transform, and I'm gonna delete that in a second, but I just want to show you how it works. Actually, I wanna do a small. Let me cancel this. Before I start, I want everything to be zeroed out here, just to be safe. Okay, now let's add that animation. Transform, position. Okay, so how does this work? So we have this is our animation kind of timeline. So you see it moves from 0 to 1. Okay, so this is kind of in frames. So you have Unity assumes you have like about 60 frames per second. So here's the 0th frame, and here will be the halfway, and so on. So let's just maybe move the cube. Let's say we're going to be here, and I'm going to move the cube this way, okay? And now I can actually record this. I can either like add a keyframe like this, and that you can see these blue dots. They basically mean that my keyframe has been recorded. And now the way to see how it actually looks like, you can just click play here. So what is happening is, by default, the animation is going to loop to the start point. So it will start here, and it will also end here. So this is the start point. So it starts and ends in the same point. Okay. So whatever you are going to do in between, it will just loop to the beginning. So I can do something kind of a bit more crazy. Let's see if I am on this second. So you can see when I'm ready, like moving this, it already kind of automatically interpolates between the start point and this new keyframe and the end point. So let's say I want to be here. I want to add a new keyframe. So I can let me just put this up, and I can click on add keyframe, and you can see how the interpolation works here. So it will be something like this. Okay. So that's my most basic playing animation here. So there's a couple of ways to add an animation. Let's go over it. So one way you can do it is you can just kind of click here in this timeline where you are, which moment in this 60 frame window you're going to add your animation, and then actually move or do whatever you want to the cube at that point. And then click here, kind of add keyframe. And that will kind of record the keyframe. So the other way to do it is also, let's delete this and add a new property here. Okay. The other way to do this is, actually, this I want it to be 0. And then a property. Let's add that transform property position again. So the other way to do this is use this record key. So I can click on record here, and then I can move, maybe move it, and then I guess, let's see if this works. It kind of is recording whatever you're doing while you're doing it. So that's another option. Any questions so far? So what I want to do is I want to stop for a second and just kind of walk over each of you, because this is a bit too kind of not super easy to set up. I just want to check that everyone has it set up correctly before we move on to more advanced animations. Okay. Sorry. So you kind of like another property like transform and scale, right? So you can actually change the scale of the cube as it's going through the animation. So let's add like say here, I want it to scale like that, like so. Okay. And then let's add this, and then you can see the scale change as it's going through those keyframes. Another thing I can do is I can actually change its color and rotation. Let's do that. Let's change the rotation first. So rotation. So let's say I want to rotate it here by so. And then like adds that as a keyframe. Can play, and then you can see it's rotating and doing that. So we saw position change, rotation change, scale change. Let's add another change. Let's like zoom. Let's add like a color change. So I can go to here. Color is mesh render. And there's a lot of options here, but right now we're just concerned with color. So material color. Okay, plus. And let's make it so it changes its color. Let's make it like red. Okay. So, and that will be our event. And let's play. So you can see it kind of is, it's like scaling and changing red and changing to red and doing all this kind of crazy stuff. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, let's now see what else I need to show you here. Okay. Let's stop this for now. Okay. If I click play, let's see what is happening with the cube. So if everything is set up well, when you click play, your cube should still do its funny thing, okay? When you're gonna click play. So you should be able to paint, and that original cube should still do its kind of animation while you're painting. Okay. So let's actually try to add this cube as a paintable object. Okay. So to do that, if you remember, okay, let's play this again. So I have, when I'm painting here, I have a couple of paintable objects. I have my sphere, I have the cube. I have my cube, I have cylinder. So let's just change this cube to the animated cube. Okay. So that change actually requires modifications to our code. Let's open the code here. So we need to change a couple of things, both on the UI side and on the code side. So on the UI side, if you look on this UI, I have this drop-down menu. I need to change that. So shape, where's that? Where's this shape type? That's here. Okay. And here, let's just change this. Drop the shape type down. Shape type drop down. Okay, so here I already have these types. I just want to change the cube for now. So let's call this anim cube. Okay, so it just changes this to be a separate text here. I didn't change anything yet in the code. And what I want to do, the thought here is if you go to where you're painting, you have like these cases. You have case 0, 1, 2. So on case 1, I want to actually instantiate this animated cube. But right now, the script doesn't have any game object, any reference to that animated cube. So I actually have to create that reference. So let's create that. So public game object animated cube. Okay. Save this and let's drag the animated cube here, this cube. So let's drag it to our animated cube spot here that opened up. Okay. And now I actually have to change the code. So to not use this create primitive, I actually want to use the animated cube. So this will be instantiate animated cube. And I think that is good enough for now. And you'll see now when I'm going to paint this, you'll see it's not going to work. Let me show you that. So if I click play, let's try painting. So sphere is working, but if I click on anim cube, it's not going to paint here. You're going to notice it just appears here. It's not going to paint where I want it to paint, and I'm going to explain why. This is actually pretty important to understand. So the reason why it's not painting like where I want it to be painted is because if you go to the animation, this cube you have your animation is changing its position, its rotation, its scale, and its color properties. And your code is also changing the position of this cube. So because when you're kind of painting here, you are basically modifying its position with your code. So because this position and the animation component of it and the code component are kind of fighting together, you cannot like the way it will be settled is just by reverting to whatever the animation says. So the way to fix this is basically just remove this position component. So let's try to do that. So let's remove that. And let's see if this works now. So yeah, now it works. See? So now when I'm painting it, I can actually get this cube to be painted over here. So what I needed to do for that is I actually needed to remove the position changes from the this animation sheet. Okay, and this works fine. You can see the scale and the rotation are okay because I'm not doing anything right now for the scale and rotation, or the color is also, but now like there's still going to be some issues. Let me show you what those issues are. Let's cancel this time destroy. So if I change, so you can notice now that the size is not going to work. It will work for my regular objects, but it's not going to work for this animated cube for the same reason, because the scale, I'm controlling the scale here with with the animation, and the code also wants to change the scale, but every time you have the code and the animation fighting over the same property, the animation will win. So the code's not going to be able to change the scale of this guy, but it will be able to change the scale of my normal sphere. You can also notice that the color here is, I cannot really control the color with this property because I'm already changing the color here with my animation, during my animation. So I can change colors for the typical kind of non-animated objects. That's easy, but it's not going to work for this animated object because it has the color property. If I remove the color property, let's see if that actually will work. So this is fine. Let's just make it red. And let's paint that. So now it actually does change the color property. So you have to pay attention every time you have a property here that you're trying to change with the code. There's going to be a conflict, and you're not going to get the correct results, or you need to kind of check your assumptions and really check that this animation part is not doing something that your code is doing. So what I would like to do now, because that was like also another step, baby step, I would like to go over each of you and see that everyone is like okay. Okay, yeah, let me show you another cool thing. So there's another option here called let's first of all stop this, called curves, and let's play this. Actually, for this let me kind of just delete all my animation, and to explain this nicely, I need to actually add the position, only the position change. So transform, position. Okay, and let's just show you this. I know. Okay, let's just show you that example again, position. Okay, I have my cube and I want to change its position. So let's say I move the cube here. I don't know, 20 seconds. Record that and move the cube here at say 40 seconds. Record that. Okay, now it's doing this animation, right? Which is cool, but you can actually change the speed in which it's going from one point to the other. So the way to do this is look at this curves option here. Okay, so you have the dope sheet is basically the kind of the record of your keyframes. So all these like diamonds kind of tell you any keyframe events that are happening. So here, this is like one event, and this is another event, and this is your starting point, and this is your end point. Okay, so you can just see easily the events. The curves are kind of a more visual way to see, to control how quickly you interpolate between these events. So let's try to zoom in here. Okay, let's save this. File, save. Okay, so I can do something like this. I can click on this, and I can just drag it like this, like so. And what will happen, it will like kind of quickly, it will slowly go and then suddenly speed up. And it may be hard to see. Let me change this here too, so it's kind of a bit more clear. So it's kind of like suddenly speeds up towards, it kind of zips in the end. So you can see it more clearly. So it's still going from like one keyframe to the other keyframe, but it basically, because I did this speed changes, it's doing things a bit more slowly or quickly. So if it's like this, it just goes kind of like an elevator from A to B without any acceleration or anything special, kind of like the graph. But if you are going to change the graph to be something like this, then it will like go slowly and then suddenly accelerate towards the end. Maybe I can make this a bit more clear showing you this. Let's delete some keyframes here. And let's just use one position. Here, maybe here. Okay. And now it's like doing this thing. Okay, this should be easier to understand. And if we go to the curves, it's basically just going from A to B, but it's kind of doing it smoothly. If I again change this curve here to be something like this, it will like kind of go slowly and then kind of accelerate suddenly towards the end. I can also do it the other way. I can do it like, so it goes very quickly and then it's like slow, like that. You can see the differences, by the way. It should be kind of clear. Okay. So again, this curves is available under the animation, and it allows you to change the speed in which you're changing from one keyframe to the other. Okay, let's stop playing this. So let's actually remove this and just use scale for now. So let's remove this. Let's just add a scale property. So that will be transform scale. Let me just set my cube to be on 0, 0, 0. And property transform scale. Okay, and let me just change its scale, I don't know, here, just for this demonstration, to be something like this. And maybe, I don't know, like that. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to add like a child game object to this cube. So I just want you to see the effects of that, having a child game object. So let's add a new 3D object here, sphere, new sphere. And let's just name it cube child. Can be any name. And drag it inside. Zero out all this transform. Okay. And if we click play, so you can't really see the sphere because it's hiding inside here, but it's right there. So let's move the position of the sphere. So add property cube child, transform position like so. And let's just change the sphere to be something like this here. And then maybe we want it to go up when it reaches this point. And then it should go down or something. This is kind of just a creative thing. It doesn't really mean anything. You can do whatever you want, like that. Okay. And if you click play, you can see the sphere is actually changing its. So whatever properties you're changing for the for your cube, it's also going to change it for your sphere. So it's going to change so if you're changing the scale of your cube here, it's also going to change the scale of the any child object, which is your sphere. Let me change this to be uh, sphere child. So the name is a bit more clear. Okay. Oh, now it kind of yelled at me. Let me change the name back. Is it okay now? Are you gonna not yell at me? It kind of yelled at me because I changed the name. Remove property. I'll just bring this back. Transform. Sphere child. Transform. I just make it go up or something. Here, see, you can kind of, it's very manual, all this editing, but it's, you only do it once and then you can use it. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to use this in the painting app. So let me see if my code is still fine. Maybe I have to change my code again. Animated cube, let's just drag this here. Let's see if this works. Let's change it to your cube. Okay, that works well. So now you can have this groovy effect. I don't know. So you're painting your cube, and your child object, whatever the child object is also there, and it's also going to move around. Any questions? So you can just keep adding like objects here. Right. So let's stop this. See what else I need to talk about here. Yeah. So notice like in your cube, right? We talked about this a lot. You know, I couldn't change the cubes. I couldn't actually paint the cube that is changing its position, right? Remember? We couldn't do that. It was not working. So notice now it is actually working if you have a child object and you change the child object's position. You can see that, right? So that is because the child object position is not, you're not like, you don't have any code right now in your painter that actually is affecting that directly. It's only affecting its parent object. So that's basically allowed. So the way around your kind of this kind of position kind of changes, if you have like a problem, like you have your code that's wanting to change the position and the animation that's wanting to change the position, the way around this is to use just these child objects if you really need to get like some certain effect. Because then, like you see, the paint it's painting fine, even though the child object is changing its position. So let's again add like that color thing again, just so you see it one more time. That may be useful for your UI project 3. Mesh renderer, material color, and here let's make it like so it goes, I don't know, blue or red or something right here. Okay, so and let's just play this. So my sphere now is changing its color to red, but the cube doesn't have any color changes. So if I check the green here, or the blue, whatever, you can see that the green and blue color changes are only affecting the parent cube and not the child sphere object, because the child sphere object, its color change is already controlled by this animation code right here. So just be careful, kind of, again, not to have the same changes in your animation and in your painting script, because that will be kind of fighting with each other and you'll not get the results that you want. Okay. I think I covered most of the things here. Any further questions? No? So, uh, one more thing I wanted to show you, and then we can finish. And this is kind of building up for next week. So notice that we have here all of this UI stuff is kind of flying out in the air. It's a bit kind of not too aesthetically pleasing. So what I wanted to do is just add some sort of kind of cover or kind of canvas here that hides this. So let's add a quad. A quad is kind of like a rectangle. Uh, you can see it up closely here. It doesn't have any kind of depth. Let's change it to be gray. Okay, and what I want to do now is I actually want the quad to kind of cover all of this area. Okay, so you can notice the quad only has color on one side. It doesn't have color on the other side. Like the other side is kind of like just no color. So when you're adding the quad, if you have any bugs and you don't see its color, maybe you need to rotate it or something, or it's just not facing the right way. Now, what I want to do is I want to have this quad right on where the clock is. But it may be like annoying kind of to drag, to just drag it manually, right, and try to find kind of manually where the clock is. So there's like a quick fix you can do with Unity if you're trying to change an object's position to another position quickly. So I can just go to my clock here. And this is like a very small hack, but it's very important. And if you look at the transform, there's a free button thing here. If you click on this and you click copy, you can actually copy properties here. So you can copy either scale, rotation, position. So if you want to copy this entire kind of property, let's just click on position world, okay? And I can go to my quad and also click on this 3-point thing and click paste position world. Okay, so now my quad should be kind of on the same general area where the clock is. Let's try to scale this a bit more. Okay, so now all I need to do, so it's kind of like on the same area right now. So let's try to scale this. Okay, I kind of got it almost correct. To be kind of covering that general UI area as much as we can. Something like this, I guess, and maybe like a little bit less. Something like this. And now like maybe make it go a bit deeper here so you can see the shadow a little bit. Okay. And then you have this quad covering your painting area. So let's save this and see if my painting still works. It should still work. So I can paint, and actually it kind of covers the painting. So you may want to move it a little bit like this so it doesn't cover too much of your painting, right? Cube. Okay. Any questions?